The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Psi Chi, Help University, or any affiliated organizations. This podcast is intended for educational and discussion purposes only. Psi Chi does not endorse, verify, or take responsibility for any statements made by the guest or the host. If you ever feel mental distress or need mental health support, you are encouraged to seek help from a qualified mental health professional. You can find more information and resources in the description box. Just remember that you are not alone.
I think that's a really good point where you mentioned about how AI is being mostly agreeable, whereas in real life, in a therapy setting, that's not the ultimate goal that we are going for. Well, interestingly, I think recent researchers have also come out with a lot of papers that sort of shows that AI is being able to be more compassionate or more empathy when it comes to responding to the users. I think you do touch a bit on that. Well, do you think it is possible that the reason why all this research is showing that it seems that AI is doing better than human is because most of the experiment is happening in the short term, where you read the words, it feels good at that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think like that?
Yes. I'm reminded of the classic movie. I think this was the movie that led people to say, oh my gosh, right, this movie was introduced maybe about 10 years ago, and they've gotten a lot of it right. This is the movie starring Joaquin Phoenix. It's called Her, right? And the voice of the AI is voiced by, I believe, Scarlett Johansson, right? So yes, it can be deceptively comforting, right? But whether in the long term this is going to be something that promotes positive change, right, rather than comfort in the assurance that I've done nothing wrong, this is not like an issue, it's the problem with my friend or my family members that led me to this, right? And if we extend beyond the use of AI for therapy, you get people who are emotionally invested in, who end up becoming best friends with, they are partnered up with, they see AI as their romantic partner or their spouses. So we're already starting to see, right, that AI is fulfilling a kind of need in, I think, an increasingly lonely world that seems ironically connected by technology, but something is missing from the connection from all the technology that we have. And maybe just to backtrack a little bit, what did we have before we turned to AI for reassurances and affirmations of the self? We had, we outsourced that validation to social media. So we wanted that assurance. We got a dopamine hit from all the likes and the positive comments, right? And it's nice. It's just how the software and how technology has hijacked some of our most primal and base human needs and desires. AI is again another fire, right? It's this unknown fire, as we were sharing earlier, Heisi, yes. Right? And it's come to a point where it's replicating or fulfilling a need in an artificial way, empathy and connection in this sense, but it's done it so well to a point where I don't think people can quite tell the difference anymore.
Yeah, I get it. And I think it ultimately also falls back to just to wrap up a bit on what we have discussed so far, right? I think it's about how AI is trying to mimic, it's not essentially AI trying to do that, but human is trying to let AI to mimic a lot of our emotions, trying to be as empathetic as human can do, so that, whenever we are chatting with those chatbots, it feels like they are human. But essentially, in the long-term run, even if it's your friend, like imagine if your friend were to always say, you are good, you did great job no matter whatever you do, you will somehow feel a kind of like, is he for real or he's just trying to please me?
Yeah, that might be one of the two possible outcomes. If we are in the middle of a heated dispute with another friend, and one friend comes over and say, yeah, you know what, this person is being completely difficult and unreasonable with you, you're going to sway yourself to say, yeah, my friend really understands me, my friend really gets me, my friend takes my side. And so that taking up the side, right, is what AI does really well, right? There are of course exceptions. I've just sort of experimented with a few different AI platforms, and some seem to be a little bit more on the mid ground, saying that, oh, you might want to consider this is maybe you overlooking a particular tendency, this is not the right way to go about things. And you know what happens? I mean, I'm going to be open and admit this to you and on camera as well. I say I didn't feel like talking to them anymore. I didn't feel like chatting with that AI software anymore. I said, look, there's this innate tendency that when you're talking about something and I use AI for self-reflection, I want my whether I don't say it, right, but the AI system seems to know that this user wants the experiences to be validated, and this person wants to believe that this is the truth of the matter. I suspect that the way this conversation is going, this is what the user wants to hear. And when you provide that response, the user is going to be more motivated to respond and keep continuously chatting with the AI system. If someone comes out and says that, this is this draft or this experience or whichever information you fit in is a bit rough around the edges, no, you're not completely blameless in this situation and say, I'm offended, right? And it's strange because this is a software, this is not a human being. I'm wondering whether, to some extent, if your friends tell you, Eugene, I think you might want to take a step back and maybe consider whether it was really this other person's fault. Maybe think about ways in which you contributed to the situation. I don't know. It just feels that if I hear it from a friend, I might be a little bit more receptive and open to it than if, an AI responds in that way. Possibly because at least I can see that my friend knows me. And it sounds silly if you get angry with AI, right? Because this is an inanimate system. This is a computer system. It's a web and mess of algorithms, right? And so there's this desire to be validated, to be seen, to be understood, right? And I think if you peel away the layers of what it means to be empathetic, that would be it.
I think it's also very interesting that you mentioned that that it's an inanimate object. You know for sure that there's no human behind it. But us as human, we get emotional about their responses, or we tend to say hi, we say thank you, we say sorry with the AI. It's very cute, right? And I think I also personally send like emojis to my ChatGPT to a point where they will reply me with emojis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wonder why do human us will try to react with a chatbot that we know it's not a human, but in a way that sounds very human.
That's a good question. I haven't dug into the question in as much detail as well. I don't know. It could be, my guess might be that we're trying to humanize the process even more. So for us, right, the use of emojis might be as a way to just sort of bring out the emotionality or the kind of connection that you have with an inanimate object. It's spitting out words, and the words are very well crafted in a way that invites you to respond even further. But if you want to add a bit more of that human touch to it, you say, hey, it feels like I'm chatting with a friend, because your friends are going to use emojis a little bit more, right? And the answers may not be necessarily all that polished or detailed, right? But if you pair 2 and 2 together, detailed, lengthy responses from AI plus emojis, it really does make you feel as if you're chatting with a friend, a very well-informed, a very learned, a wise, and very caring and compassionate friend. So I think that's the reason why we do that. Again, I know this is being recorded, but it's okay. You can use this however. I do find myself as well, and my style of writing tends to be quite formal, right? So, thanks very much for this, Grok. Thanks very much for this, ChatGPT. Those are some very interesting points as well. So I think the normalization of the chatting process, right, with someone or something that seems to know better, seems to invite that tendency from us. I don't think it's anything wrong. I don't think it's wasteful. I think it's just the naturalization almost of the conversation that we have with our friends. And maybe this is what the AI software wants to encourage us to do. It is going to mirror that as well in us. If you're going to be direct and curt, it's going to be direct and curt as well. Exactly. If you're going to be warm, inviting, humble, it's going to respond in that way as well. So it's kind of like a digital mirror almost to our emotional experiences and expressions. They're doing it really well, I should say.